Hello everyone, welcome to Writing Quest. My name is Brendan Pugh, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about where we are in the story so far since we've been rewriting. Huzzah! Okay, so here's where we are. I rewrote pretty much all of what we've had so far. I've redone it, except for the prologue, which I'm going to get to. I've got a really cool idea for how I want to redo that, but this is where we're at so far. I went back to the beginning. I talked about Ro. We talked about this in the last video where basically just rewrote it from her perspective, everything. So if you remember before, we had a chapter from Guyan and Agorath's perspective where they were down by the grave sites and all that stuff. Well, I rewrote that whole thing, but from Ro's perspective. So she's traveling around the village and then she comes across them. She experiences the whole thing as such. So where I went from there has been, I'm really trying to focus on building the world. So building the village she's in, introducing new characters, introducing all of these new people, just trying to build it out, make it more interactive, more. I realized when we wrote before, we had totally just we hadn't made the world vivid enough. It wasn't very vivid. There wasn't enough people. There wasn't enough description. And I think part of that was personally, as I was writing, I was very apprehensive about adding too much description because I know, if you look at Wheel of Time or if you look at Lord of the Rings or all those, one of the probably... I don't know if it's a failing, but there's so much description that it can get really bogged down. So I was a little bit afraid of that because I definitely don't want it to be bogged down. I want it to be pretty quick, but also, I don't want it to be quick. I want it to be good paced. So I want to have enough of the description, but I also want to make sure we're at a good clip. So maybe somewhere between the speed of Harry Potter and the slowness of Lord of the Rings, somewhere in there. But I went back and I said, we're going to add in a bunch of words. We're going to make this happen, and we're going to really describe it so you paint a really good word picture, which is what a book is. But I'll move on. So basically they kind of have this normal town hall meeting where they discuss what they need to do, and then Ro wants to go on that trip and she ends up being told she can't, and so they have this kind of fight and she runs away. Her kind of motivation is that I'm trying to build a better relationship with her and her father. So her father is dead at the start of the story, but I'm trying to make sure that relationship feels really good, like they had a good relationship. She looked up to her father, so it's kind of a hole in her life. I probably need to go back and add more of that character motivation in, but it's definitely something that I want to make a big deal because she needs to have we struggled in the beginning with why is she important? What is she? And that's always seems to be, I like to shy away from the chosen one story. I just feel like it's such a shoo-in, they're chosen to do this thing, and so that's why they're the main character. But because I have foregone that, you end up with kind of I'm not really sure why do they even matter to the story? What makes them matter? So part of that is I got to give her a sufficient motivation, and what I'm going to bank it on is her dad was an upstanding good guy who was part of the society, and so she's kind of being told, no, you can't participate, but she wants to live up to her dad's legacy and she wants to participate and be involved. So that's going to be kind of the beginnings of it. And then as we go on, obviously you build on that character motivation and all that stuff. So she gets in a fight with Guyan Agorath, her mother. That's another thing is I still haven't done it all yet, but I've added in more of her siblings. We wanted her to be from a big family. So that has been important to us. And so building in more of her family life, her mom, all that stuff, and her mom's more of since the death of her spouse, she's a little more sad and depressed, and she's still kind of recovering because I would imagine it's been a while, but it's not been super long time. So it still kind of hurts, And then she runs off into the forest. She runs back down to the graves and she starts having this conversation with her dad's tombstone. And that's when it all goes crazy. So I decided to have this really cool scene so in the beginning, in the first chapter, we talked about she looked into the forest and she thought she saw something. Well, now she's going to be down there alone, and the wolves, 3 wolves that have coming out of the forest to attack her. What we think is an attack. I think what I want to build it into later is that they're actually trying to get her because they realize they need her for something. I haven't quite figured it out. Borderline chosen one, but I don't want it to be chosen one again, so I got to figure that out. And then ultimately, they get attacked. Guy and Agorith come save. It's kind of like a smaller version of what we had written before with the Wraithwalker attacking her. And so that's kind of the gist of all that. So they get an attack. She gets injured. The wolves attack the village for a bunch of nights in a row. And now I'm writing. I just wrote the end of a chapter where she is helping. They're fortifying their defenses. They've been under attack by the wolves for a while now, and so they're fortifying their defenses, and the wolves come back at the end of the chapter, and they tell them, you have to leave. So I'm really trying to build appropriately on this clash of cultures. I always think that's such a normal thing that we experience in the real world. And so that's definitely something that will ring true for everyone. Your culture clashes with everyone you run into, even your little micro cultures. And so really wanting to make sure it's of wolves and wizards, that the beginning of the story at least is the clash of these two groups and how they figure that out and get along, and misunderstanding people's intentions, motivations, why they're doing certain things, really getting into that kind of visceral, like, this is why you would do something, and then you're also reacting to what other people are doing and what the other characters are doing, and then misinterpreting that, and then the chaos that ensues out of that. I think ultimately it's going to be a much stronger story. I do have the ending in mind, and a part of that came from, so as you've seen in some of my Notion videos, I've outlined or started outlining many different books, and so I kind of have these different arcs based in trilogies. They may not stay trilogies, they may expand, but right now it's easiest to think that way. And so I've come up with a few arcs of where this story can go, and then flowing into the rest of it, and it all kind of becoming one big narrative. And so really excited about it. It's really taking shape nicely. I hope you're following along on Wattpad. Please check that out. It's the best way to just keep up on the story. I'm posting it every day as I write, which I'm trying to get in every day. I'm not doing that all the time, but I'm doing that most days of the week. So pretty much every day, 5 days of the week at least, you're getting an update on the book. So please follow along. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. Please like, comment, subscribe if you like this video. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Writing Quest. Huzzah!